And happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kane. It's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by See-Through Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractor Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys, as always, for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We do have some severe weather ongoing today. There are a few here and there storms that have produced some marginally severe hail as well as a wind gust or two, and so that will continue for the rest of today. So we'll talk about exactly where that's going to continue in just a few minutes. And then getting into tomorrow, it should be a quiet day in terms of severe weather, as today's system really shouldn't have a whole lot of steam as we get into tomorrow. So tomorrow should be quiet, but as we get into our weekend, specifically Sunday and getting into the beginning of next week, there is a system that we will potentially be watching for severe weather, and we'll talk about the areas that we'll be watching for that as well. But before we get into our forecast for today, we do have one event coming up, and that is our 2023 hail forecast. That's going to be down in Denton tomorrow. I believe there may still be a few tickets left, but not that many. So if you're interested in going to our hail forecast, again, it is tomorrow down in Denton at the Embassy Suites Denton Convention Center. So scan there for your tickets. So here are current conditions across the lower 48. It is an absolute mess across the country today, anywhere from severe weather to a mix of freezing rain and snow on the cold end of this system. So we're going to break it on down a little bit. First, let's check out the severe side of this storm system. You can see a very narrow line of storms pushing their way through Arkansas northward into Missouri, and we did have a few isolated cells trying to produce some severe hail in central Illinois. So this will be the area that we'll be watching for severe weather this afternoon and evening. And then getting on the cold end of this system, this pink color here is freezing rain. So unfortunately, if you're in the Great Lakes region in Detroit, shout out to my family there, you guys are experiencing some ice right now, and that's going to continue for the rest of the day. And that wintry weather stretches all the way into the northeast and then all the way to the west, and not just to Minneapolis and the Dakotas, but even out into the Rocky Mountains. So it's just a big old mess today. Now, taking a look at our current temperatures, you can see where that cold front is situated with that distinct difference between the greens, and then we get to those purples. So it's 60 in Kansas City right now, 73 in Dallas. You go to the north, though, where that boundary is situated, it is only 34 in Fort Wayne, and behind that system with that colder air, it's only 19 in Minneapolis. So we're not really going to go into a whole lot of detail with the watches and warnings because there are a lot of them. So we have some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings out in the northeast, and then getting into the northern part of the U.S., we have blizzard warnings, we have winter storm warnings, we have some ice storm warnings, and then the blues here indicates some colder air, so freeze advisories and freeze warnings, and then we even have some wind advisories and red flag warnings out. So it is, like I said, a mess across the country today, and unfortunately it's going to continue to be a mess for the next 24 to 48 hours or so. So here's our future radar on the bigger scale. Again, heavier rain on the warm end of the system down into Missouri, Arkansas, and even parts of northern Louisiana. And then on the cold side of the system, a mix of sleet, freezing rain, and then snow on the very northern side of the system, and then more snow in the west. As we get into this evening, that mess will continue to push off to the east. And then as we get into tomorrow morning, things should start to improve a little bit, basically from south to north as we get into tomorrow morning and then into tomorrow afternoon. Some snow still in the western part of the U.S. and then getting into the overnight hours on Thursday and into Friday. You can see that spinning still in the Pacific off the coast of California. This will be the system that we'll be watching as we get into our weekend, and more on that in just a moment. So let's focus now on today's severe weather threat. Again, we saw the very narrow line of storms on our current radar, and that is picking up here on this particular model. So this will continue to push off to the east over the next few hours. St. Louis, you can get possibly a gusty wind gust or two as we get into this afternoon between 2 and 3 p.m. And then as we get later on the afternoon, Memphis, you can see a storm or two, mostly in the form of wind. I think the hail, if any, is going to be more in the northern part of this risk area. So then as we get into later on in the evening and into the overnight hours, that rain will continue to push off to the east. And in terms of severe weather, it should be, if it hasn't ended at this time yet, it should be ending relatively soon around that time. So, and then getting into the overnight hours and into tomorrow morning, you can see just a few rain showers will be left. So as of right now, that severe weather risk for tomorrow is non-existent, but things can change. But yeah, stay tuned. But for today, again, that hail risk will be on the northern part of that system. I'm not expecting those sizes to be really anything crazy. Isolated quarter-size hail, though, is possible from St. Louis northward to Springfield, Illinois, basically within the next few hours, and then those storm chances will diminish. But as we look at our wind, I think it's going to be a little bit more extended in terms of the areas that we'll be looking at. Anywhere from 60 to maybe an isolated 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts cannot be ruled out from Indianapolis to St. Louis, southward to Memphis, Little Rock, and Shreveport. The severe weather should be ending for you guys within like the next hour or two as that line is pushing on through as we speak. So Memphis, St. Louis, and Indianapolis, you guys still have that chance for some severe weather wind gusts as we get through this afternoon and evening. And then, like I mentioned, tomorrow should be quiet in terms of severe weather as this system will be losing steam as we get into the overnight hours and then into tomorrow morning. So at this time, no severe weather is expected. But I did mention this weekend and getting into the beginning of next week, there may be something that we need to watch very carefully. So let's take a look at our future jet stream. Very strong trough going on right now in the western part of the U.S. and then getting into the middle of the country. A lot of cold air is coming on down south from the north, from Canada. And right along this part of the jet stream is where we will have that chance for severe weather today. And then as we get into tomorrow, you can see that jet stream starts to lift off a little bit with that main trough still to the, it's staying to the west of basically the Central Plains. So it's going to be situated in the western U.S. That's what I'm trying to say. But as we get into Friday and then getting into Saturday, it starts to deepen a little bit and it will finally start to track to the east. And so this is at noon on Sunday. This trough will be making its way out of the Rockies and then into the Central Plains. So we will be watching basically from Kansas down to Oklahoma for the potential of severe weather on our Sunday. And then getting into Monday, we could see some activity in the southeast. So we could be a bit active here as we get into our weekend. And I'll show you exactly where in just a moment. First, here are our dew points. This is at Sunday at 3 p.m. So we're jumping to Sunday. Now, lots of moisture will be in place as we get through Sunday afternoon and then into the overnight hours into our Monday morning. That cold front will push off to the east, plenty of moisture ahead of that system. Once again in the Mississippi Valley, so Mississippi down into Alabama. We will be watching this very carefully on Monday. I think it's still a little too far out. We got to focus on Sunday first and see what happens with that. But there could potentially be something more on Monday in the southeast. So as we get closer to our Monday and Tuesday, we will fine-tune some things and see what's going on with the potential of severe weather in the southeast. But for now, here is our Sunday afternoon in terms of the instability. This is again at 3 p.m. We will have that cape present from central Kansas down to Oklahoma and then down into western Texas and along that Red River Valley area. And as we get into the overnight hours of Sunday into Monday, we'll start to lose that steam, but then getting back into Monday afternoon, those values return. So again, Sunday is going to be the day that we're mainly focused on, but remember on Monday and maybe even down into Florida on Tuesday, we'll keep an eye on those areas as we get closer. So here is our Sunday look ahead forecast. For now, it is from Kansas down to Oklahoma. Here in Oklahoma City, we are in that risk. So if any of you guys in the Wichita, down to Oklahoma City, down into the panhandle of Texas, just to the west of Dallas, you guys aren't included in this at this time. This is the area that we'll be watching very carefully on Sunday as those ingredients look to come together for a potentially decent severe weather event. And then, like I said, this could get into the southeast on Monday. Stay tuned to our forecast over the next few days to see how this all potentially could unfold. So that's all I have for you now. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our TikTok page. Make sure that if you're not subscribed yet to any of these, that you do so, especially now that we're getting into potentially the beginning of the severe weather season. If you have any questions, concerns, if you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com and check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday.